Good evening. Welcome to the evening news. I'm your host for tonight, Catboy Kunhua. In the news. Latest breaking news, Bill Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in jail after being found guilty last April for drugging and raping a woman 14 years ago. The judge determined that Cosby was an active threat to society, despite the fact that he's 80 years old and blind in one eye. I don't know how that works. Okay. Anyway, the conviction has led to an extensive debate as to what to do about Bill Cosby's legacy, as his career, spanning several decades, won numerous accolades and awards. Today, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce said Bill Cosby's star will not be removed from the Walk of Fame, as it is a designated historical landmark. Also, removing it could set a precedent that could completely strip Hollywood of its most famous features, such as Kevin Spacey's star, Mel Gibson's imprints at the Chinese theater. But we could also lose entire venues, such as Chris Brown's Music and Boxing Pavilion, Charlie Sheen's Rehabilitation Center, and, of course, the much-beloved Courtney Love's School of Etiquette and Refined Manners. Doctors have recently recommended that you should stop saying no to drugs, as drugs are inanimate objects, and talking to them is the reason why they prescribed you drugs in the first place. As Canada nears the deadline in which cannabis will be legalized for recreational use on October 17, by the way, I should add as a note, October 17 is a Wednesday, so you bet your ass I am going to be completely baked by Thursday. So this is a warning to you, Tindy. I might need a little extra help from Match Game that day. All right?
Oh, okay.
You said what?
I should just bring the Twinkies, right?
Okay, yeah. Anyway, as the date approaches, there is concern among Canadians whether or not the government will be ready in time to both regulate and distribute marijuana. Both federal and provincial governments have promised to regulate cannabis with the same fairness and efficiency as telecommunications. Oh, fuck. I would say that our telecommunications is third world, but Africa actually has faster, cheaper, and better Wi-Fi than we do. Yeah. Anyway, according to a recent survey by the Seasoning Manufacturers Association, 70% of all dishes are under-seasoned. Of course, the study is biased, so take it with a grain of salt. Ben Affleck was recently seen complaining at his latest intervention, where he said, "This is the worst birthday party ever. The food is terrible. Everyone's telling me to quit drinking, and it's not even my birthday." The Washington Redskins have finally decided to drop their offensive name that's been so controversial for so long. Dan Snyder, owner of the NFL Redskins, has announced that the team is dropping Washington from the team name. And henceforth, they will now just be known as the Redskins, as you see behind me. It was reported that the word Washington imparts a negative image of poor leadership, mismanagement, corruption, cheating, lying, graft, and not a fitting role model for young fans of football.
So true.
Yeah. Anyway, today at the United Nations, Donald Trump addressed the UN Assembly and proceeded to make a speech claiming that his administration was the greatest administration in history. To which the entire UN Assembly openly laughed at him, which now makes it official. America is now the laughingstock of the entire world. Trump's speech was translated into 6 languages, fortunately including English. In the speech, Donald Trump clearly spelled out that he will provide no aid to countries that will not show him proper respect. Translated English, this means America will provide no aid. Donald Trump also said today that statehood will be denied to the United States territory of Puerto Rico as it remains to have a disrespectful ruling party that insists on spreading lies that 3,000 people died in Hurricane Maria last year. However, However, granting statehood to a U.S. territory is not determined by the President of the United States. Statehood is granted by an act of Congress, which right now is controlled by Republicans, and they're in no hurry to create a state that's pretty obviously going to vote Democrat. Yeah. In other news, the American government continues to exist for now because this week the Senate passed a spending bill that will keep the government open until December, but no one is sure if Trump will sign it, especially after he tweeted this morning. He says, "I want to know where all the money for the border security and the wall is in this ridiculous spending bill, and where will it come from after the midterms?" Continue on. The economic experts made a guess as to where the money will come from to pay for the wall, and all of them unanimously said, not Mexico. The only walls that Donald Trump have been able to build so far are the 8 wall prototypes that were built last year. They're different shapes and colors, like accent walls, because they're designed to keep out anyone with an accent. The president had high praise for these mini walls as he visited them earlier this year, and he claimed that they will be 99.5% effective, which is a number he 100% pulled completely out of his asshole because government reports show the border walls can be broken. Every single mock-up in the line was deemed to be vulnerable to at least one breaching technique, and in at least one case, test crews were able to make the prototype wall completely unstable to the point of collapse, which immediately led to Trump's re-election campaign's newest slogan, "Rebuild the wall." Rebuild the wall. Rebuild it. All right. Trump seems to think that building walls is a solution to every problem, as Spain's foreign minister revealed recently that Trump urged him to build a wall across the Sahara Desert, presumably to protect the EU from illegal immigrants fleeing Africa. It seems that Donald Trump does not know that building a massive structure on sand is literally a metaphor for instability. Speaking of instability, Brett Kavanaugh, Donald Trump's pick for Supreme Court Justice, and man shown here explaining to Al Franken how to properly pretend you're groping a pair of breasts.
Al Franken.
Yeah. His nomination for Supreme Court is further jeopardized this week as 2 brand new allegations of sexual impropriety have come to light. Donald Trump has repeatedly weighed in on these accusations, again saying Kavanaugh is being treated unfairly. After all, Kavanaugh is only facing 3 allegations, and he might not get the job, whereas Trump faced 19 allegations, and he wound up getting the launch codes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way you wish it wasn't. I'm Catboy Kunhua.